casino or into a slot machine can be considered an investment. It's just an extreme example. The higher the risk, the higher the possible reward. Okay, now the next one that I'm going to do is going to be risk. Now, risk refers to the possibility of the investor losing the money he has invested. Now, think of my casino example now. The risk is enormously high because the chances that I will lose the $5,000 that I have invested into that slot machine, and I've used the word invested in inverted commas, is incredibly high. So you will probably lose your money. But in other investment cases, there are certain investments that are almost risk-free. For instance, putting my money into a bank account. Unless something dramatic happens to the bank, that money will be safe and I will most definitely get my money back at the end of the term. Shares, on the other hand, is not that so lucky. If I put my money into shares, there's always a possibility that the money will be worth less than the money that I've put into it. You can just think, for example, if I put my money into Sasol now, when the oil price fell, the Sasol shares were also devaluated, and in other words, you would have made a capital loss. Now, shares, they say here, have a low or medium risk. But now, guys, this is very important. We will speak about investment terms a bit later. It has a low or medium risk only over a longer investment period. The longer the investment period is, the lower the risk becomes. The reason for that is, if you look at a share graph, the shares go up and down, and that we call volatility. And over the short term, markets tend to be very volatile. The prices for the investment goes up and down, up and down, up and down, but it normally has an upward trend over the long period of time. But over a day, a month, a week, the chances that you will lose your money becomes a lot greater. Okay, shares with higher risks. These are businesses that invest into areas or that does business in areas where there's significant risks. The potential for your higher returns is a lot higher in those type of things, but your short-term volatility will be a lot higher. But that we will explain when we do risk as an shares as an investment opportunity. Okay, we will also speak about ordinary shares and preference shares a bit later. So I want you to bear this concept of risk in mind. I'm not going to explain that to you now. I will explain that to you when we do those specific investment opportunity. Okay, the next one that we need to consider is the investment period. The longer the period, the better the return on investment. You will see when we do shares, I'm going to see if I can get a couple of share graphs for you on the slide, and you will see what I mean over a longer period of time. The longer the investment period goes, the more money in the form of either interest or dividends or capital gain can form. So therefore, the duration of the investment is incredibly important. But sometimes people just do not have the time. They want to invest their money now for a short period of time until they need to use the money to do something else. So therefore, sometimes the investor has a short-term view, and the type of investment that we need to choose then should be a safer option. But that you will also see when we get to investment opportunities. But the investment period refers to how long the investor has to invest the money before they will need it. Okay. Now, this one is incredibly important to understand, and that is the concept of inflation. Now, I've drawn a picture here. Now, this is a basket of food, and this is the money that you need to buy it. Now, guys, every year, the things that we need to buy for our general standard of living, our food and groceries and those type of things, becomes more expensive. So, in other words, the buying power of our money If I take a 20 Rand note, and with a 20 Rand note, I could have bought a bread and a milk. Next year, I cannot buy a bread and a milk with that same 20 Rand note. And that we call inflation. Now, boys and girls, why is inflation so important? It is important because when we invest our money, we need to invest it so that the buying power of that money increases. So, in other words, the 20 Rand that I've invested must not just be able to buy me again a bread and milk next year or increase in value so that it can buy me a bread and milk next year. It must also be able to give me a chocolate and all of those things with it. And that we call the real return on investment. That is when we adjust it for inflation. So a good investment will always grow higher than inflation. But inflation is not the only thing that we need to consider when we make an investment decision. It could also be the term of the investment. Sometimes you will not get a return higher than inflation, but it's still the best option for for instance, the time period or the investment period. Okay. The next one is your personal budget. Now, if you refer back to my first slide, we are working when it comes to investments with surplus money. That is money left over after we have paid for all our other things like our salaries, and we have paid for water and electricity and the need for other things that we need the money for. That is money that is left over after we have paid everything that we need to do. Now, guys, you cannot invest money that I need to pay for the normal run-of-the-mill things like water and electricity. So we need to make sure that the money that we invest falls within our budget and that it's affordable. And now we are going to do a bit more of a technical term that is called liquidity. Liquidity refers to how easy an investment can be turned into cash. Now, I've chose this one. If you think of water is a liquid. Liquids flow from one place to another, and liquidity refers to how quickly I can turn my investment into money, into actual cash. Now, I want you to think back to the first slide when I had the house on there. How liquid do you think investing in fixed property would be? If you think about it, when I buy a house and I want to sell the house, it's going to take a while before I can get my money back. You need an estate agent. It's going to bring people around. It's going to take a month or two before a person actually decided to buy the property. Once they've decided to buy the property, it goes through a lengthy process of which the property needs to be registered and all of those things. And that may take 3 or 4 months before I can actually get my money back. So, in other words, fixed property is not a very liquid investment. But if I've put my money into a savings account at the bank, when can I get my money back? The moment that you put your ATM card in the machine and you can draw that money. So it refers to being a very liquid investment. Okay,